tonight. A nanny hears strange noises upstairs while taking care of the kids. A father checks hidden camera footage, and what he uncovers will leave you questioning the safety of your own home. Jenna Lee Baker had always been a highly regarded nanny in her California community. She had spent years caring for children, building strong bonds with families, and ensuring that every child under her supervision was safe. She was known for her patience, kindness, and protective instincts, making her the perfect choice for parents who needed someone they could trust. When Jonathan and Melissa Lee were searching for a caregiver for their 3-year-old son, they knew they wanted someone reliable, experienced, and compassionate. After meeting Jenna, they immediately knew she was the right fit. From the very first day, their son felt comfortable with her, and it wasn't long before she became a part of their family. Both Jonathan and Melissa had demanding full-time jobs, which meant that some days neither of them could be home with their son. While they tried to adjust their schedules to ensure at least one of them was present, there were times when it simply wasn't possible. Having Jenna around gave them peace of mind. They knew their son was in good hands. She took him on walks, planned engaging activities, and made every day an adventure. He adored her, and they trusted her completely. On a warm summer day in 2017, what should have been just another routine afternoon took a terrifying turn. After running errands in the morning, Jenna and the child decided to head back home earlier than planned. As she pulled into the driveway, she noticed something that felt off. There was nothing obvious. No broken windows, no signs of forced entry, but something didn't sit right. She couldn't explain it, but a deep, unsettling feeling settled in her stomach. She brushed it off at first, convincing herself that she was just imagining things. After all, she had been to this house hundreds of times. There was nothing to fear. As she unbuckled the little boy from his car seat, he excitedly ran toward the front door, eager to get inside. Jenna quickly followed behind him, unlocking the door and stepping inside. As soon as she crossed the threshold, the feeling returned, stronger than before. The house was eerily quiet, almost too quiet. She hesitated for a moment, listening closely, and then she heard it. A faint noise from upstairs. Her pulse quickened. The sound was subtle, like someone shifting their weight on the floorboards. She froze, straining her ears. Maybe she was imagining it. Maybe it was just the house settling. But then it happened again. A distinct, deliberate movement. Someone was upstairs. A wave of panic rushed over her. She knew the house was supposed to be empty. Both parents were at work and no one else had a key. Her mind raced through possibilities. Had a window been left open, allowing an animal inside? Was there an unexpected visitor she hadn't been told about? Or was it something far worse? Before she could react, the little boy darted further into the house, completely unaware of the growing danger. Jenna's heart pounded as she took a cautious step forward. She debated calling out, but something told her to stay quiet. She knew she had to get the child and leave. Then, just as she was about to turn back toward the door, she saw movement at the top of the stairs. Her breath caught in her throat. A man stood there. He was dressed in dark clothing, his face partially obscured by the shadows. For a moment, they locked eyes, both equally frozen in place. Jenna felt a surge of fear grip her. This was not a friend of the family. This was not someone who was supposed to be there. And worst of all, he had clearly not expected anyone to come home so soon. Her instincts took over. She grabbed the child's hand, yanking him toward her. Without hesitation, she scooped him into her arms and bolted for the door. Behind her, she could hear the man's footsteps thundering down the stairs. She ran as fast as she could, feeling the adrenaline surge through her body. The only thought in her mind was escape. As she reached the front yard, she glanced over her shoulder, expecting to see the intruder right behind her. But the footsteps suddenly stopped. She turned just in time to see the man disappearing out the back door, vanishing from sight. Jenna didn't stop running until she reached the neighbor's house. Panting, she pounded on the door, her hands shaking as she tried to explain what had happened. The neighbor, alarmed by her distress, immediately let her inside and called the police. Within minutes, law enforcement arrived at the scene. Officers swept through the house, guns drawn, checking every room. By the time they got there, the intruder was gone. When Jonathan and Melissa Lee received the call, they rushed home from work, terrified by what they had just been told. They were relieved that their son was safe, but the reality of what had happened was deeply unsettling. Someone had broken into their home. Someone had been inside, searching through their belongings. And worst of all, someone had been upstairs when their child returned home. As police investigated, they found clear evidence of a break-in. A back window had been forced open. The suspect had rummaged through drawers and cabinets, likely looking for valuables. Nothing appeared to be missing, but that wasn't what concerned Jonathan the most. What disturbed him was the timing. How long had the intruder been inside? Had he been watching the house, waiting for the perfect moment to break in? Then Jonathan remembered something that made his stomach drop. Months earlier, he had installed hidden security cameras inside the house. At the time, they were meant to be a precaution, something to check in on their child while they were at work. He had barely looked at them since installing them. But now, those cameras might hold the answers they needed. He rushed to his computer and pulled up the footage from earlier that day. As he watched the screen, his heart pounded. And then, there it was. The camera captured everything. He watched in horror as the man climbed through the back window, cautiously making his way inside. At first, he moved with precision, carefully searching through the kitchen and living room. But then, something chilling happened. The intruder walked down the hallway toward the child's room. Jonathan clenched his fists, his pulse racing. The footage showed the man pausing outside the door, glancing inside before turning away. It was unclear if he had been looking for something specific or if he had just been checking every room. But the thought of this stranger being that close to his sleeping child made his skin crawl. What disturbed him even more was that throughout the entire break-in, the man was on his phone. His eyes darted around the room as if he was communicating with someone else. Was he working with an accomplice? Was someone outside keeping watch? The footage ended with the moment Jenna and the child entered the house. The intruder's head snapped up, realizing he had been caught. Within seconds, he was sprinting toward the stairs, bolting for the back exit just as Jenna ran out the front. Jonathan handed the footage over to the police, but despite their best efforts, the intruder was never caught. After the break-in, the Lie family upgraded their security. They installed additional cameras, reinforced their doors and windows, and made sure they would never feel that vulnerable again. But no matter how many precautions they took, Jonathan couldn't shake the feeling that someone had been watching them for a long time. Was this an opportunistic break-in, or had his family been deliberately targeted? They never got an answer. What do you think? Was this a random burglary? Or was there something more sinister at play? Let us know in the comments. And if you enjoy real-life stories that make you think twice about your surroundings, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because sometimes the safest places aren't as safe as we think.